I just got back from an early screening watching the latest horror comedy movie called The Blackening, and I got some things to say. What's up, my dude? Your friendly neighborhood Tony here, and this is a movie that I saw the trailer for a little while back and was pretty curious about, so I'm really excited that I got to see it a little early, so that way I can share my thoughts with you to let you know if this is something that is worth you going to the theater to watch. If that kind of thing sounds cool to you and you want to see more movie reviews, ranking videos, trailer reactions, all that good stuff, make sure you subscribe. So without further ado, I'll tell you a little bit of information about the movie, who's making it, what it's about. Then I'll go into my pros, the things I liked about it, followed by my cons, things I didn't like. And then finally, I will say who I think this movie is for, if anyone. So The Blackening actually debuted at TIFF, which is the Toronto International Film Festival, last September. There it was the second runner-up for the People's Choice Award for Midnight Madness, and it's set to officially come out in theaters this Juneteenth weekend. I think June 16th is the official release date. The movie is directed by Tim Story, who you might know from directing the original Barbershop movie or the two Fantastic Four movies that came out in the early 2000s. He also directed Ride Along and a few other movies, honestly, most of which that didn't receive great critical acclaim. The movie is written by Tracy Oliver and Dewayne Perkins, who actually stars in the movie as one of the main characters. And it's based on a skit from an improv group that then made a short film, and now we have a full feature film. So the movie is definitely a horror/comedy with a real emphasis on the comedy, I think. And to give you a quick premise, if you haven't seen the trailer or anything, it follows a group of friends as they reunite after, I believe, 10 years for a weekend getaway, only to find themselves trapped in a spooky cabin in the woods with a killer who forces them to play very specific games. Now, although after watching the trailer, I did like the trailer. I think a lot of the humor in the trailer worked for me. I was still a little worried that the movie wouldn't live up to my expectation. You know, there are so many movies where all of the good bits are in the trailer. And also, it's really rare for a horror comedy to work. You know, you think of movies like The Cabin in the Woods or Tucker and Dale versus Evil or Army of Darkness. And those are some of the staples, but there are countless horror comedies that fall by the wayside and just do not do well. So I went into this with my expectations kind of in check. But little bit of a spoiler, I don't think I had to worry because this movie really works. So let's start with some of my pros. And I think the main one is that this movie knows exactly who its audience is. It knows who it's targeting. And if you think you might fall in that scope, then I say you're going to love this movie. Likewise, if you've watched the trailer or if you've read about the premise and you think, it's not really for me, then you're probably right as well. There are tons of jokes in this movie, tons of references to different songs, movies, TV shows, all that kind of revolve around Black culture. So if you're familiar with that culture, or if you yourself are Black or African American, I think you're definitely going to get a lot from this. And at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's pandering. It really feels like all of these jokes and references are really authentic. And of course, that makes sense based on who's writing and directing the movie. This isn't one of those formulaic movies that's slapped together by a board of old white men. It genuinely feels like this movie is made by people that care about the story that they're telling and probably that relate to or at least have come up around characters not too dissimilar from the ones that are in the movie. There's a sense of authenticity there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Also, as far as the pros, despite having a mostly unknown cast, I think everyone in this movie does really, really well with their characters. Now, of course, this is mostly a comedy, and the characters that they're playing are really caricatures. They have very specific tropes that they're following, and so there's not a lot of variability in their performances, but for what the actors and actresses are asked to do, I think they completely nail it. There are so many full-on laugh out loud moments throughout this movie. Honestly, I can't tell you how many times I go to a theater to watch a comedy and it either just falls completely flat or the jokes are just ones that you mildly chuckle at quietly. This is not that. This is a movie that you and the entire audience will be busting out laughing all the way through. It knows what it is. It knows what it intends to do. and it nails it every step of the way. Also, I should say there were some great music drops throughout the movie. So if you're into hip hop or R&B or anything like that, I think you're going to get a lot of enjoyment out of that. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that there are no cons in the movie. I do have a couple of cons. So let's go ahead and get into those real quick. For one, I think it's pretty clear that this is a lower budget film. But even that being said, I do think that they manage their budget well. The majority of the movie takes place in and around this cabin in the woods. So there's not a lot that they had to do outside of that. And I don't think having a smaller budget negatively impacted the movie in any way. Another thing that could be taken as a negative is that this movie has a heavy emphasis on comedy and not so much on the horror aspect. Now, there are still definitely some scary moments throughout the movie, but when it comes to the writing, I think that the horror side of it is just kind of slapped together and your typical tropes that you get in so many horror movies that we've seen before. So don't expect too much originality there. But again, that's not really the point of the movie. It's a parody of those tropes. And for that, I can look beyond the super basic plot and all the typical horror movie jump scares or the one thing they do over and over again, which is a slow dolly push in on a creepy door down a dark hallway. Seriously, that shot is done 6-7 times before I stopped counting, but it's fine. This is not a movie that I think you should be examining hypercritically. And if you do, of course, you're going to find all these little flaws throughout it. But that's not the point of the movie. This movie is a movie that should be enjoyed primarily with as big a group of people as you can possibly get. Now, thankfully, the theater was packed at the screening that I went to, and everyone was having a great time. We were all laughing together. We were all shouting things together. There is a point in the movie where they have a kind of call and response part, and everyone in the theater shouted out the same thing at the same time. And I won't spoil it for you, but if you see the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This is an interactive film. So do yourself a favor. Do not watch this for the first time by yourself at home or on the back of an airplane seat. Get yourself to a theater. If you think this is a movie that you'll enjoy, get yourself to a theater on opening weekend. Bring as many of your friends as you can and just be ready to have a good time. Leave all your negativity at home and just go out and enjoy yourself. That is what this movie is about. That is what this movie is for. So to wrap up, who do I recommend this movie for? Well, I kind of touched on it already. If you've heard about it, if you've seen the trailer, if you've listened to the plot summary, if you've listened to my review and it sounds like this is something you might enjoy, go for it. I think you absolutely will. As I was leaving the theater, there were a number of people that were just talking about how they want to go watch this again when it comes out in theaters officially. I heard a black couple behind me as we were leaving, and the lady was saying that this is a movie we need to buy on Blu-ray and support like we did Black Panther, which I thought was really sweet. So yeah, if you think this is something that might be up your alley, definitely check it out. You're not going to regret it. But those are just my thoughts, my opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I definitely want to hear your perspective. You know, I'm just me. I only have my own life experiences and my own way of thinking to look at things. So whatever you think, let me know in the comments. Also, I should say in the next few days, this weekend, Sunday, the 21st at 4 p.m., I'm going to be doing a live Q&A, the first one on my channel, to kind of celebrate hitting 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to tune in for that, definitely do. I'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions that you'd like to ask me for that Q&A, you can just drop them in the comments here. So let me know all your thoughts, your opinions, your questions, any of that. And of course, if you want to see more like this, make sure you subscribe. All right, I'll catch you in the next one. Be good.